My name is Kevin Fernandez and welcome to my channel, Gamers Genie. Today we're going to learn how to play the economic animal game, Raccoon Tycoon. This 2 to 5 player game designed by Glenn Drover and published by Forbidden Games. In this game, you are a thriving town owner and you're trying to build railroads and also different towns. But you also, in order for your town to thrive, you also need to collect different goods to trade and collect money and to build different buildings to help your town thrive as well. Will you be able to accumulate the most victory points, or will your opponent have a more thriving town than you? Find out as we go to the table and learn how to play Raccoon Tycoon. Shuffle the price and production cards and deal 3 cards to each player. Place the remaining cards near the board as a draw deck. Place one of each commodity tokens on the lowest price in their corresponding market. $1 for wheat, $1 for wood, $2 for iron, $2 for coal, 3 for goods, and 3 for luxuries. Place the remaining commodity tokens near the board to act as a supply. And I placed most of them in these little containers for easy access. Give each player $10 as their starting money. Place the remaining money near the board to act as a bank. Create the railroad deck by removing certain railroads based on the number of players. So, 2 players, you remove the Skunk Works, the Sly Fox, and the Tycoon railroads. For a 3-player game, you remove Skunk Works and the Tycoon railroads, and for a 4-player game, you remove the Skunk Works railroad. For a 5-player game, you do not remove any cards. We will be playing a 2-player game in this video, so we're going to remove the Tycoon, Skunk Works, and Sly Fox. Shuffle the remaining railroad cards to make the railroad deck. Turn 2 cards face up and place them each on one of the railroad spots where I just placed them right here on the game board. These cards are available for selection to start an auction. Create the town deck by placing the cards in order based on their victory point value. 2 victory point cards on the top in any order. Then the 3 victory point cards, and so on. Once the deck is in order, place it on the town spot on the game board and reveal the top card. Shuffle the 6 basic commodity bonus building tiles, double-sided, with the +1 side face up. Randomly draw and place 4 of them on the building locations on the game board. These are available for purchase. Place the remaining 2 basic commodity bonus building tiles out of the game. For a 2-player game though, you have to do just 2. Shuffle the remaining building tiles, that's this stack right here. Place them face down in a single stack like what we just did. This stack will be used to fill an empty location whenever a building is purchased, so that there are always 4 buildings available. So we'll just select a start player randomly and place the start player token in front of them. The start player gains 1 free commodity of their choice. The second player gains 2 free commodities. The third gains 3, and the fourth gains 4, and so on and so forth. But they must all be different. No player may have 2 of the same commodity. And let me explain. So, if I was the first player and I grabbed 1 wheat, that does not mean Jordan cannot grab from our wheat stack right here. She can grab a wheat. However, nobody can grab 2 wheat, 2 coal, 2 iron, 2 wood. It always has to be 1 of each. There are some optional rules for the setup besides what I just showed you, but I will let you discover those in the rule book for yourself. And that completes the setup. The start player will take the first action each round and may perform one action. So there are 5 actions to choose from: production, sell a commodity, railroad auction, purchase a building, purchase a town. Followed likewise by each player around the table clockwise to complete the round. Play one of your price and production cards from your hand. Take the 3 commodity tokens shown in the production area, this red area down here, from the supply and place them in front of you. This means that on some cards you may not get all the commodity tokens shown. You'll have to choose the 3 you want. This maximum may be increased if you own the cottage, industry, or factory buildings. So on this card you're fine because you only need to get 3. But if you play this card, there's 4. So you have to choose to not pick the iron, the coal, the wood, or the goods. After producing, increase the commodity market prices of the commodities shown in the price area of the card $1 each. So we see iron, so this iron goes up by $1. It's now at 3. You can't really see it right now because I want you to see the price, not the actual card. And the luxuries also go up to $4. After taking your commodity token and increasing the prices, place the played cards in the discard pile and draw a new price and production card from the deck to refill your hand to maximum. Players have a maximum hand of 3 price and production cards, so I'm at maximum capacity. Unless they own the smuggler or black market buildings to take more commodities than are shown on the card. And all these buildings that I've been mentioning, they're all in your building stack. Commodity buildings give production bonuses of +1 or +2. They are marked with a B. When a player uses a production action, they get an extra commodity token shown on the bonus building. So this is the iron deposit, so they get 1 extra iron, in addition to the commodity tokens that they would normally receive from the card. However, the player may gain the benefit from only 1 building in any given production action. So if I had the coal and the iron deposit, I have to choose between the 2. I cannot get both. Note, if a player owns more than 1 B building, they must choose which one they'll use. The bonus production commodity is in addition to the player's usual maximum production. Production building tiles marked with a P are like the bonus building tiles. Player may only gain the benefit of 1 production building tile in any given production action. Each player may only have up to 10 commodity tokens at any one time. If a player's production action brings their commodity total to more than 10 in front of them, they must immediately discard their choice of tokens back into the supply to get back to 10. This limit is raised by 1 for each building tile that the player owns. The warehouse building increases the limit by 3 for the special power of the warehouse building, plus 1 for its normal bonus. So the warehouse is right here. It gives you +3 plus the 1 for it just being a building. Any quantity of a single type of commodity owned by the player may be sold from 1 to all. The commodity tokens being sold are returned to the supply, and the player is paid the current value shown in the market for each token of the commodity sold. Then the price of the commodity drops by the number of units sold. So, for example, if I had 1 iron and I sold it for $3, I return the iron to the supply, and because I sold 1, it drops to $2. Select one of the railroad cards from the 2 on the offer and begin an auction for the railroad card. The minimum bid for the railroad is shown on the card. So for both fat cats, it's 4, and trying to find one that would be a better example. For Top Dog, it's 6, and Big Bear has 5. Starting with the player that started the auction, each player bids in turn clockwise around the table, or passes. Once a player has passed, they may not bid again, and the highest bid wins the auction and gets to take the railroad card, pays the bid. The railroad card is then placed in front of them, shown that they own it, and it is immediately refilled. The empty spot in the offer is then filled with a new card. There must always be 2 cards on offer unless the deck is exhausted. If the player that started the auction does not win the auction, then they may perform an action, including another auction. If the player who started the auction wins the auction, then their turn ends. So if I started the auction and I lost, I can bid on one of these other 2 fat cats. And let's say I won this time, so I get to take my fat cat and replace it with another card. Note, no player can bid more than the money that they have. So right now I have $13 in my hand. If I bid $14, I cannot do that because that is against the rules. I can only bid $13. The player that selects one of the 4 buildings tiles on the offer and pays the cost shown on the tile, that building is then placed in front of them. So for example, I take the coal, place it in front of me. I spend, I'll toss my 10, so I get 5 for change, and it's right in front of me. The owning player gains the benefits shown on the building tile for the rest of the game, so I always get a bonus coal. A new building tile is then taken from the top of the stack of face-down tiles and placed in the offer so that there are always 4 buildings in that area, unless the stack is exhausted. The 6 commodity building tiles, as well as the machine shop and watermill advanced building tiles, double-sided, when they are purchased, the +1 side is face up and active. However, the player may use a purchase building tile action later to upgrade the tile to its +2 side, so it costs $12 to upgrade. Purchase the available town card by paying either the number of the specified commodity, 2 iron, displayed on the bottom left corner of the card, or any commodities displayed on the bottom right of the card. The commodity token used for payment are placed back in the supply near the board. The purchase card is then placed in front of the player who purchased it, and a new card from the deck is then turned face up and placed in the offer so that there is always 1 town available for purchase, unless the deck is exhausted. Note, when using the any commodity option to buy a town card, the commodities used to make the purchase do not have to be the same type. They can be a mixture of any commodity, and I learned that the hard way myself. So you do not need, so this is 5 for any, but you do not need 5 coal, goods, luxuries, wheat, etc. You can mix and match if you want, and it won't break the rules or anything. Play continues around the table until either the last town card is purchased or the last railroad card is auctioned. When either of these occurs, finish the current round until all players who have not yet taken their turn have done so. Note, the last player in every game is the player to the right of the starting player who went first at the beginning of the game. Then the game ends. For a little bit more information, during the game, all cards and building tiles owned by the players must be placed so that all players may see them. No hiding. Each player's money, on the other hand, is a secret and does not have to be shared. You don't want to brag about how rich you are. Each player will get the victory points shown on their town cards and their railroad cards. Note, having more than one of a particular railroad gives that player more victory points as shown on the railroad card. So for example, since I have 2 fat cats, I can gain 7 points because that gives me 2. Each building owned by a player is also worth 1 victory point. Every town and railroad pair owned by a player is worth 2 victory points. Since I have the molehill and a fat cat, I get an extra 2 victory points. So a little more of an example. A player owns 3 railroads and 6 towns. They can make 3 pairs, so they gain 6 victory points. The player with the most victory points at the end of the game is the winner. In case of a tie, the tied player with the most money is the winner. And that's all you need to know to play Raccoon Tycoon. If you have any questions, put them down in the comments below, and I'll get to those as soon as possible. If you really like this video, please give us a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel and you really are enjoying it, hit that subscribe button right down there, and click on the notification bell so you're notified when we release a new video. You can pick which specific ones you can now, or you can just go with any video that we release. If you are a big fan of our channel, please consider becoming a Patreon supporter. I'll leave a link to that in the description below. If you are on a little bit of a budget, all you need to do to support this channel is just spread the word about it and keep our subscription, our views growing. We want to keep this family growing and growing and growing. We have a big one, but we always have room for more. Be on the lookout for our gameplay video on Raccoon Tycoon. But until then, thanks for the views.